They called it a calling, but everyone knew it was a sentence. In the valley town of Brackenford, faith was a fence, tight-knit, weathered, and meant to keep things from straying. When Mara Eloin turned 17, the fence closed around her. Her mother had died owing the church, her father had fled the mines, and the council decided the debt would be paid in devotion. A girl with quick hands and quicker questions was a risk. A reverend sister was a solution. They dressed it up as mercy. Serve the light, they said. Be made clean. When Mara cried that she wanted to leave, they smiled and said the light had chosen her. When she begged, they prayed louder. The Abbey of St. Carson stood on the hill like a white tooth. Its bells measured obedience. The sisters shaved Mara's hair, burned her dresses, and taught her silence. They taught her to kneel until her knees sang, to swallow hunger as if it were grace, to confess sins she had not committed until guilt felt like skin. The Reverend Mother said suffering sharpened the soul. The town nodded from below, relieved to have their order restored. Years passed. Mara learned the old hymns and older rites. She learned which candles bled tallow and which bled truth. She learned that faith, like iron, could be shaped by heat. The light answered prayers, yes, but it answered discipline faster. On the night of her final vows, the Reverend Mother bound a silver chain around Mara's throat and whispered the words that sealed a sister to her service. Something else answered, something older than the abbey, older than the town, older than the light they claimed to own. The prayers were wrong. The syllables cracked. The air tasted like storms. Mara did not scream. She listened. When dawn came, the abbey bells rang once and then stopped forever. The sisters were found kneeling where they had prayed, eyes burned white, mouths filled with ash. The Reverend Mother lay at the altar, her silver chain fused to the stone. The town sent men with torches, and the men did not return. Mara walked down the hill at dusk, hair grown long overnight, eyes reflecting no flame. She wore the habit still, but it clung to her like shadow. Where she stepped, the ground remembered her kneeling. Doors locked themselves. Dogs hid. The bell in the town square rang without being touched. She did not kill at random. She hunted with the care of a penitent. First came the councilman who had called her a risk. He was found in his study, ledgers open, every debt he'd ever forgiven written across his skin in fire. Then the women who had sung loudest when she cried. They dreamed of her until sleep refused them, and when they finally collapsed, the dreams followed. The men who had watched and said nothing lost their voices. The priest who had smiled and said the light knows best was the last. He saw her clearly, and that mercy was its own punishment. When the valley lay quiet, Mara returned to the abbey ruins. The old thing that had answered her waited there, patient as stone. It offered her more power, dominion, an end to hunger. She shook her head. I have learned enough, she said. She set the abbey alight with a single word and walked into the forest beyond Brackenford. The town rebuilt, smaller, humbler, and told their children stories about the danger of forcing faith upon the unwilling. They left bread at the edge of the trees sometimes, just in case. And on certain nights, when the bells rang without hands, the valley remembered that evil is not always born, it is made, carefully, by a community certain of its righteousness.